Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 4. So, this episode's going to be real. It's not going to make me any friends. But it's a sad truth. It needs to be talked about. One, so the guys that are out here actually working can get some help, can do what they need to do, and can you know be able to operate safely and effectively, and um, for their departments, for their agencies, and for the communities. So I want to start off first with prayer. Um, and there's several reasons behind that. So obviously this is going to be a tough one. So uh, here we go. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I just come to you, Lord, and I thank you for the opportunities to put out your word. I thank you for the opportunities to try to help somebody. And Lord, I just ask for your guidance, your wisdom, and your direction. Father, I ask that those that may watch this, Lord, that they can open their hearts and that they can see some things, Lord, that goes on that needs to change. And hopefully it provokes the right person in the right place somewhere to actually take the steps necessary. That way we can prevent a lot of things from happening. And then that way that everybody all around gets the help that they need and that they deserve. Father, again, I just thank you for everything it is that you're doing here. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. All right. So just to preface this, I'm going to start out with a verse out of Matthew. It's going to be Matthew 5:9. This is the words of Jesus Christ. So, Lord, uh, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna pose a question, and you can think about it and deep down in your heart, and answer it for yourself. Are you a peacemaker? Are you a peacemaker? I'm not talking about just at work. I'm not talking about while you're in a patrol car. I'm not talking about while you're in a fire truck. I'm not talking about while you're driving down the road when you're off. I'm not. Everything. This encompasses everything. When Jesus made this statement, it wasn't targeted at law enforcement officers. Okay. When Jesus made this statement, it wasn't targeted at sheriff's deputies or anybody. It was targeted at everybody. Okay. So if law enforcement wants to adopt and always use this verse, I don't know, to glorify themselves, I guess. I don't know. Um, I think that you need to look at it more than just surface value. Uh, One, think about who said it, the intentions behind it, and then ask yourself, are you that? Um, so what we're going to talk about is what I feel is probably one of the biggest um, reasons why you see law enforcement officers, first responders, firefighters, EMTs, nurses, doctors. Um, I there's a lot of people that this affects, and it needs to be talked about. It needs to be focused on, and there needs to be a way to address it. There needs to be a way to try to fix it. I mean, we can't say, blessed are the peacemakers when we can't even keep peace amongst ourselves. right? Now, granted, I'm no longer a cop. However, after being in it for 10 plus years, um, and working at two different agencies, I mean, I think I could give a pretty fair and reasonable opinion on some of the things that I observed and some of the things that I witnessed. Now, that's not to say that every agency is the same because they're not. They're all different. However, they all carry very similar problems and they all carry very similar um, policies and operating procedures and everything else, right? So, what we're going to talk about again is one of the biggest things, and I think that is mental health. I think that uh, that causes a lot of issues amongst law enforcement officers and others. So if we go, let me just preface this because I'm going to get into a story that kind of um, will paint a picture a little bit better. But I just want to start out to kind of give this context. Uh, there are things that these guys see every day. They experience it. They have to deal with it. They get exposed to it. I mean, just everything. And when I say that the things that they see would absolutely shock people, it would blow your minds. Um, and so that causes problems. That causes things. Um, and I'll just say this: if the things that law enforcement officers see, if it doesn't cause you problems, if it doesn't open a door for something in your life, then you might want to do some real deep searching because no human being should be able to witness and see and have to experience a lot of the things that law enforcement officers do and feel nothing from it. I mean, that's just a fact. If you can walk into some of these places and some of these scenes and some of these incidents and not feel nothing, um, kind of speaks to you. So, everybody, like I said, I was in law enforcement for 10 plus years. Um, I was promoted all the way up to patrol sergeant. Um, and even still to this day, I get called, and I'm not even in law enforcement. And I have individuals calling me, asking me for advice or or anything, guidance, whatever. And and I'm always happy to give it, and I love it. And even though I'm not a cop no more, I think that speaks to the impact that was left. Um, I also think it speaks to the impact that was left by me when the administration and everybody else, you know, what are we, almost a year down the road since I've been gone, and they still like to talk about you. Um, so yeah. Um, so anyway, I was promoted to patrol sergeant. I had a shift. Great guys, phenomenal guys. And that I think it's that way across the board. I believe that the vast majority of law enforcement officers, when they get into this career, when they choose this life, or when they choose that life rather, um, they don't go into it with the intentions or the belief or whatever, thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to do this now, or I'm going to be able to one up this person, or I'm going to be able to gain something from it. It's not that. It's it's far greater than that, and it um, most of us, when we get into it, have very good intentions. We don't plan anything malicious or we don't intend to do anything illegal or anything of that nature. I think that what happens is over time, uh, guys get fried by the things that they see and the things that they have to endure, and there is no help whatsoever, none. Okay, these agencies can say, oh, well, we've got this clinic, or we've got, there's this hotline that they can call or whatever. Listen, come on. That's just a, hey, we gave this, or hey, we gave that. That's just an appeasement thing, okay? We're not doing your little PR stuff. There needs some real work, some real stuff done, okay? Um, Stand by 1 second. All right, sorry about that. I had another light down here, and obviously I need to play with it some more because it was getting on my nerves. Um, anyway, so like I said, some real work needs to be done. That way, people can actually get the help that they need, and then and only then will it be beneficial for agencies, the communities, and everybody else. So people ask, what are you going to ask? Well, why don't cops get help? Well, I can tell you why they don't get help. Okay, because they'll get fired. Administration will find a reason, okay, whether it be a fit for duty excuse, because they can't fire you for your medical issues, right? It's against HIPAA and everything else. But they are not going to use that. They're going to say you're unfit for duty. And can you? Well, what's that do for somebody that's already facing mental health issues, right? Because now you've just taken their way of feeding their family off the table and paying bills because of their issues, right? So now they've got this stuff in their minds of, dang, you know what? I'm screwed up. I can't handle my job. I can't handle this. Now I've been fired. I can't pay my bills. I can't take care of my family. That builds up anger, right? Frustration, everything else. And so that's why you see the suicide rates in cops so high. And I think that is absolutely flawed. So this is the national tracking data, okay, from the suicide rates in cops. 150 to 180 police and public safety officers die by suicide each year, which means an officer is consistently more likely to die by suicide than in the line of duty. Think about that. Cops are more likely to die by suicide than they are in the line of duty. Now think about how many cops die in the line of duty and how tragic and how awful that is. I'll double that number because for the last few years, based off of tracking data, been about the same. Some slight variations between 150 to 180. That's unacceptable. There's no reason for that. Period. Period. These counties, okay, these municipalities, these cities, they have the money. They have the money. They have the money to invest in programs to help these officers and to help these people whom they ask, whom they send into these situations. Why aren't we doing anything about it? County mayors, city mayors, sheriffs, chiefs, why are we not doing anything about it? Since it continues to happen and the numbers stay the same, I don't think your 1-800 numbers are doing anything. What's the problem? Can't tell me these places don't have money, especially here locally where I'm from. I've seen it. I've seen the numbers. Seen it. I think a lot of it's smoke personally, but that's just my opinion. That's crazy. That's nuts. I mean, it really, it truly is. I have no other word other than just pure crazy. Pure. That number should not even be anywhere remotely close to that. Um, there's been other studies. There's been other surveys and stuff like that. I've got one pulled up here from Police One. It's a highly recognized um, place that does different research and write ups and stuff like that regarding law enforcement and the world of it. And so this was a survey that they done back in 2024, um, where they did a survey of 2,833 law enforcement officers. 83%, 83% of them report mental health that impacts their work. 83%. So for you all that are sitting here watching this video and sitting here thinking, not me, not I'm a tough guy, I don't do that. Guess what? You're definitely one that it's affected. And I'm going to point it out to you and I'm going to show you that it is. So in this same write up from Police One, okay, and this is where all this information is coming from. Uh, Police work manifests in various ways and impacts in various ways. Uh, 71% struggle with sleep disturbances. 50% experienced heightened anger. 50% heightened anger. Hmm. How often do we see people on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and everything else posting videos of cops that are, oh, I don't know, angry? 50%. 50% indicated relationship or family issues, such as arguments, tension, or conflicts. How many times have we seen law enforcement officers get involved in domestic situations with their spouses? 39% were affected by depression. 36% endured anxiety or panic attacks. 35% reported post traumatic stress or PTSD symptoms. And an alarming 11% harbored suicidal thoughts, specifically due to work stress. And 16% reported that within the past year, they experienced thoughts of suicide, devaluing their life, or thinking others would be better off without them, or feeling indifferent to the value of their life. Hmm. I don't know about you, but that kind of sounds like a lot of the complaints that society has against law enforcement, huh? Because what do you see? What do you see with society and law enforcement? What are their complaints? Using excessive force, caught being a jerk, or angry. Uh, hmm, hmm. Things we need to start thinking about. And I want to get into, I made a short video saying that we needed to pay attention to behavioral changes, right? If if somebody is all of a sudden behaving in a manner or doing things that they wouldn't typically do or are outside the normal uh, routine of this person, we need to pay attention to that because those are pretty good indicators that something might be going on. People don't change their behaviors and things that they do out of nowhere, generally and typically for no reason. There's some kind of catalyst there that's provoking that. So I want to get into I'm gonna channel stories, right? So I'm gonna tell a little bit about uh, a story from me. This one's gonna be difficult. And it's something that I still struggle with. However, having almost a year to comb through thoughts and comb through and just break everything down and think about what all that took place. I can genuinely say this now. I am thankful to the Lord above for the situation. It taught me things that I needed to be taught. It opened my eyes to things that I needed to see. And remember, it's not about the mistakes that a man makes. It's about how the man makes the mistake and and what he does with it, right? So, yeah, I made a mistake. I owned it though. Owned it. Never once have I owned it. But in the grand scheme of things, never mind. I ain't even gonna go there. Okay, so I'm gonna grab something real quick just to kind of show you. So, um, October 1st, 2025. So we're coming up on a year is when this incident occurred. I'm not going to mention any names. I don't think that's fair to the family or whatever. But some of you that will watch this video will know about what I'm talking about, and I'm going to give an actual shout out to a deputy, and I hope he forgives me for doing this, but he's a heck of a dude, and he's a really good cop. He's got a family. He was a firefighter, but then he decided to join the dark side. And so he's a good guy. I am going to mention him in this. And I don't know yet if I'll call him by name or not, but I think he deserves the recognition for sure. And so October 1st of last year, call comes out of a 3-month-old baby, cardiac arrest. And me and this other deputy were the first on scene. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing around. It took the ambulance forever to get there. It felt like hours. Um, when we get there, dad's holding the baby. This other deputy grabs the baby, puts it in the floor, and immediately starts CPR. Well, I get some of the initial information from mom and dad, and baby's name, stuff like that, age, roughly what happened, and immediately relay that information over the radio. Then I get in the floor with this other deputy, and it was like, we got to give her breath. So 3 months old. So he's giving compressions, right? So I reach down and grab her head and do what I'm supposed to do, tilt it back, grab her nose. And I give her first breath. Then I give her the second. Then I give her the third. And when I blew the fourth time, blood just, it was like as soon as I let go of her nose, I guess from the pressure or what, it just, being in that situation and being there doing that, me and him both, and at the time, I don't think either one of us realized it. I don't think that we were paying attention to each other. I think we were focused on the baby. Um, we were both praying hard, and I didn't realize that until quite a while after, when I was going through thinking about it and breaking it down. But ambulance finally gets there. We didn't even wait for them to come in. He picked up the baby and we ran her out to the ambulance. The ambulance sat there on scene for a few minutes, working on her, and then they finally left and went to the hospital. Well, I stayed there for a few more minutes with the parents, waiting on detectives. And then once the detectives got on scene, spoke with the parents, and we all left. And I followed them to the hospital. I went to the hospital with them. Just to give you some context, this is kind of September 1st, 2024. I was baptized. So we're almost a year into my baptism. So I'm on a different road of life. And like, I'm heavily leaning on God at this point in time. Like, I'm pretty hardcore into it. I mean, so much so that people at work, that people at the sheriff's office are saying, hey, we need the old Brandon back. Let's have like throwback Thursdays or something where the old Brandon comes back. Um, because I was changing a lot of things. I was working on a lot of different things. And so get to the hospital, and there's two trauma rooms. They're side by side, and they put mom, dad, and grandma in one, and then the baby was in the next one getting worked on by the doctors and everybody. And I walk in there, and mom and they're all hysterical, and as they should be, and crying and tore up, and grandma looks at me and she says, God's not going to take that baby, right? I didn't have an answer. So I did what I think a lot of us would do. And I said no. I said no. And you talking about praying hard. I know I was. I know the family was. I'm sure the doctors and the nurses and everybody else that was involved, I'm sure they all were too. And unfortunately, uh, the baby didn't make it. So I walked out of that hospital that day with a lot of questions, a lot of doubt, and everything. And so that one broke me. That one broke me, and I struggled with it, and like I said, I still do. But there's something that I learned, or something that I realize now, again after having almost a year to tear things apart, and that's sometimes, most of the time, we're not going to have an answer for people. And as hard of a pill as that is to swallow, that's just the fact. But what we do need to do is love people. And I think I've said it time and time again. And, I'm sure you guys seen these when I was looking at, but everybody knows I got like 3D printers, laser engravers, all kinds of stuff. And I laser engraved some memorial bands for that family. And here we are a year later, and I still not taking them to them. To be honest with you, I don't know how. I don't. I don't. Um, One of these days, I want to get them to them, and I will. But when I left, man, I was tore up, and I did what most of us do: bury it, throw something else on top of it. And what we don't realize when we do stuff like that is eventually it's coming out. It's going to come out. It's going to come out in anger. It's going to come out in issues with your family. It's going to come out issues with your work. It's going to come out in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Okay. If 2,833 law enforcement officers were surveyed and 83% of them say that the things that they experience cause them issues, guess what? I don't care how invincible you think you are. It's coming out. Okay. Eventually, it's going to show its face. So, what do we do? What do we do? A lot of law enforcement officers, and I'm guilty. I was guilty of doing the same things. Right? How do we cope without help? Alcohol, doing things that we shouldn't be doing. Right? Risky behaviors. I mean, that is a sign and literally a symptom of PTSD is something risky that one it's a way that the brain copes with the stress, right? In order to deal with whatever it's feeling, sometimes the human brain is very interesting. It's not as simple as some people like to think. Um, when certain things are going on, and people that like to drink alcohol, right? A lot of cops, um, they resort to drinking, right? Um, and the alcohol that they drink, certain things are released, chemicals are released in the brain, whatever. Not to mention the intoxicating factor of the alcohol, right? That either numbs or covers up or does something that allows them to stop thinking about whatever it is that they're thinking about or whatever it is that's going on, right? The anger issues, the arguments, the conflicts, the tension within your family. Um, just I've talked to a couple, different people and different guys and stuff like that. We've had conversations and it's crazy because every one of us are on the same page. Just as an example, like being in law enforcement, you see some pretty rough stuff, the worst of the worst. And and so when we come home and we hear our spouses or somebody talking about how bad their day was at work, right? Whether like if their spouse is like a secretary or a nurse or whatever, right? Something somewhere and they're complaining about how bad their day is. In our minds, we're like, wow, that's it, right? And we tend to downplay or tend to not give credit where credit's due because it, we see the worst of the worst. And so to us, that's what should make a person want to complain. Or that is what justifies complaining, right? When somebody comes home that's just worked somewhere wherever and they're complaining about how crappy their day was and the only thing that they experienced was a customer that was, not pleased or not happy with the service that was provided or whatever. You know, then what happens? Your spouse is like, "Oh, well, you don't listen to me. You don't talk to me. You don't do this. You don't. Nothing I say ever matters to you." Da 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 da. And then it spools into a conflict, right? Then the anger comes out, and all this other stuff. So it just snowballs into something else. And so that's just an example. And again, 83% of the 2,833. So I mean, 83%. It's wild to me. It is wild to me that these agencies, these counties, these especially some like I'm just speaking from where I'm at, and I live in a tourist town, that's probably got two of the most visited places in the United States, and there's money that can get these guys the help that they need and the help that they deserve. But instead, we like to push it off. I mean, I know uh, of a couple of different instances where locally, where there's been law enforcement officers that have been suicidal. You know what happens? You get fired. One comes to mind right now, and I'm not going to mention a name. I'm not going to do that. That's not my place. But happened here locally, and he got shunned for it, made fun of, and it's sad. It truly is. Because one thing I can promise you, you do not know where you're going to be sitting or standing at 6 months from now. You could very well be in that same situation. It's a fact. So how about we take it a little bit more seriously? I'm challenged, and I'm nobody. I'm nobody. But I promise you, eventually, these videos are gonna take off. They're gonna take off. They're gonna get some attention. They're gonna get the attention of the right person, and then somebody somewhere is gonna have some questions. I've had some pretty interesting conversations with some individuals that, well, never mind. I've had conversations with some individuals that may one day be in positions um, to influence stuff. God willing. I know that somebody's going to watch this video and he's going to automatically assume I'm talking about him. I might be. I might not be either. You know, one of the things that cops like to do, that we like to do, that and it's just a coping mechanism, really. It's just a way to cope with and make light of it. Is we make jokes, right? When we see something or when we experience something, like we'll turn it into a joke, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. Um, However, when we're constantly saying things that are like that, because they can get pretty rough. Um, it get like I said, it gets pretty rough, pretty vile, right? And if a lot of people heard it, oh, I'd be afraid. Like I'd be afraid of how the public would perceive it, especially nowadays. Um, but nonetheless, guess what? It happens. So the downplaying things, right? The passing it off as jokes, the burying it, the drinking, the risky behavior things, right? I mean, listen, there's guys that and gals in law enforcement, right? The alcohol, the chasing women, or if you're a female chasing guys, and a lot of them do that while they're married. A lot of them. I'm not saying every one of them, because there are some that just don't do that. They don't cope that way, but they do it other ways. I mean, so there's some of them that just will drink heavily. Um, there's all these ways that law enforcement officers use to cope with this stuff, and the vast majority of them are not healthy, right? The vast majority of them are things that we learned from other law enforcement officers when we first got in it. And I'm not putting the blame off on anybody. I'm just saying that that's the atmosphere, that's the climate, it's no different than the military. Um, you know, you look to your senior guy. You pay attention. You find somebody. You pick somebody out when you get into that unit or that agency or whatever, right? And you're like, man, that dude's squared away. I want to be like that guy, right? Well, lo and behold, this dude, sure, he might have the squared away appearance, right? And he might be doing everything right, and he might be an awesome cop. He might be an awesome soldier. But guess what? He's also carrying around a lot of weight. Um, and it's because he's buried it. And so I'm just going to use it as an example. You know, when I was a field training officer, when I was training guys, um, it was one of the best things I ever did in my law enforcement career. And man, I really want You know what? I'm going to. And I hope he doesn't get upset at me for this, but um, one of the trainees that has always stuck out in my mind, and I was a field training officer for 4 years. Okay. Um, and at the agency that I was at, um, 4 years is a long time to be a field training officer because the turnover rate is so high there, um, that you've pretty much got somebody in your car the whole time, every day, every shift, um, training them. So this one particular deputy that I was training, um, he grew up, from everything I know, in a really good family. Uh, I know that he traveled around a bit. He was, uh, from all appearances, and everything that I was told, um, by him, he was a good kid, and or for the lack of a better word, he was an innocent kid. And man, this one kind of bothers me, because I took that innocent kid and I gave him so much crap throughout his training phase. And some people were going to say, "Oh, well, he was struggling to do this. He was and yeah, sure, he was. There were some things that he just wasn't catching on to, and looking back now, I don't think it was because he wasn't catching on. I think it's because it's where God had his heart. A lot of, I could go real deep with this one, but I'm gonna try not to. Um, and what I mean by that is, there's some of us that don't care. We'll go hands on real quick. You know, we'll snatch somebody up real quick, like in a hurry, and it's business, right? And but there's sometimes too. I think that if we take an extra second to maybe, I don't know, talk, that maybe we wouldn't have to do that so often. Um, I don't know. I could be wrong, but this kid became a really good cop, a really good cop. Um, he was a really good dope cop, and he later became, well, he was about to become a training officer himself, but then he left. Um, as of right now, he's not a cop anymore. Um, there's been a lot of people leave, but I say that because we got to do better. Y'all got to do better now. It ain't me anymore. Um, I just hope that by me putting this stuff out there and by me saying this stuff and pointing this stuff out, that somebody somewhere is like, hey, you know what? We do got to make some changes. We do got to sit down here and look at this stuff. Um, because we got to take it seriously. We do. When I think that if we just do the one thing that Jesus Christ instructed us, right? Um, and that's actually love each other for one, and not this pretend or this putting on this face of hey, are you good or pretending to care, right? Um, we got to actually care. We got to actually be purposeful and intentional when we do it. And I was talking about everything that the stuff that we like to joke about and say and talk about and do. And trust me, it gets pretty gnarly. Uh, Matthew 15:11. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, that defileth a man. So, there's some individuals that I can just come to right to the top of my head, that are good guys, um, truly are, and never really participated in the shenanigans like that. Um, and behind the scenes, behind the lines, other people poke fun of them. And you can always tell, man. I wish I could give them. I wish I could call these guys by name, but I just don't. I don't feel like I can, because they truly are good guys. And yeah, so think about that. What we talk about, right? We may not do other things, or we may not um, be super awful people, right? Or doing crazier things, but at the end of the day, when your head hits the pillow for the last time and your eyes close for the last time, and you're standing in front of Jesus, it's not going to matter how good of a person you were. It's going to matter if you were saved, right? And if you lived the way Jesus tells you to live. And the two greatest commandments is to love each other, right? And love the Father in heaven. And so when we talk a certain way, or when we say certain things, right? If that is what defiles us, and the enemy, the devil, right? Um, it says that he is literally roaming around like a lion, seeking who he is going to destroy. So, what makes us think that it's okay to even talk like that to begin with? Sure, I get it. It's a coping thing. I'm guilty of it, 100%. But it's not okay. It truly isn't. And what makes us think that that's not literally kicking a door open for the devil? And then he gets in our head and feeds us lies and manipulates everything and so on and so forth. I could go on and get a whole lot deeper about that too, but I'm not going to. Maybe later. I say that to say this. Regardless what you all think, regardless what you all believe, regardless what's going on in your life, I promise you that if you sit down with Jesus Christ and give him your time and give him your life, he will heal you. It might take some time and you're going to grow, but just growing has some pains associated with it, right? It's inherent. So push through it. Don't get down because of it. Don't question nothing. It'll help you a lot. I promise it will. Um, I'm still growing. I'm still learning every day, and I'm I'm so I'm in such a better place. I really am, and I get all of the praise, all of the glory, all of it goes straight to Jesus Christ. Period. If it wasn't for him, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. I've got a business that's doing very well. Um, Me and my wife are doing phenomenal. Um, all of my kids are doing good, um, and all of that is because of Jesus Christ. Period. Plain and simple. There's no other explanation. Um, and yeah, I'll save it for another episode. But uh, listen, pay attention. Okay, pay attention to each other. If your shift buddy or your friend, I know I had one. Now he's not a cop anymore either. I mean, we're still listen. You ain't separating us. You might as well chalk that. Um, you know, talk to each other. Look out for each other. Right. There are going to be people that are going to get so mad and so angry and so butthurt that you have somebody like that. Let them. Let them. Keep an eye out for each other. Okay, look out for each other. Um, and listen, for those of you that maybe have kind of backed away from Jesus and or maybe have never been saved or never really heard a whole lot or tried it or whatever, right? What do you have to lose? Some people say he's not real. Well, if he's not real, then you ain't gonna lose anything. But if he is real, and he is 100%, there's a lot to lose. So I urge you, give him a chance. Give him a real chance. Listen, God bless you all. I love you all. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing. Listen, don't forget to like and subscribe and just a side note too, the giveaways still a thing. And I want to give this stuff away. But there are a lot of the subscribers, y'all got your profiles set to anonymous to where I can't see who you are. So if you want to be entered into these giveaways, you're going to have to change that to where I can be able to put names down in this drawing. But yeah, so if not, if that's something that you guys are uncomfortable with, send me a DM. I will add your name to the list anonymously, and we'll keep it that way. And then I will just contact you directly and let you know that hey, you won or whatever. I'll respect that given the client and the atmosphere. So the client, that was stupid. The climate, sorry. Um, but listen, God bless y'all. Y'all have a good day. Stay safe. Look out for each other. Be nice and love everybody.